Hello there, my lovely jewelry makers. I'm Christina at CSLdesigns, and today I'm going to show you how to make this double-sided wirework rose link or charm, which is great for jewelry that has a lot of movement while wearing it, as there's no front and back. For instance, I used these links in a long necklace that I made, interspersing them between different beads. And because these links are double-sided, it doesn't matter how you wear it. So if you want to learn how to make your own double-sided rose link or charm, then keep watching. So all we're going to need to make our link or charm is our wire, and in this case here I'm using a 0.6mm regular round copper wire, and that gauge works perfectly for this link. You can also use a 0.8mm, but it really depends on the look that you want. And then alongside our wire we also need a selection of pliers, so we need some wire cutters. In this case I'm using these flush cutters here, and then I'm also going to be using these chain nose pliers, and finally I have my 6-step bell making pliers. Now you can use round nose pliers, I'm just using these because I like knowing exactly what size loop that I'm going to get. So let's get our wire and pliers ready and let's get started. Then firstly we need to cut a length of our wire, and what I have is 60cm on my 0.6mm. Now this is just the length that I'm using per link, and is to make roughly the size that I'm making my links, which is about 1cm in diameter. Now obviously you can use more or less depending if you want to change the size of them. Then we want to take our length of wire here, and first of all we need to find the midpoint. So what I like to do is just grab the two ends, bring them together, just like this, and then just kind of pull down so we have a little kind of loop here. I'm not going to pull it really tight. Instead, what I'm then going to do is take my 6-step bell making pliers or round nose pliers if you're using that, and then I know down here is where my midpoint is, so I'm going to place these pliers on that midpoint, and on these pliers I'm just using the smallest step just to get the smallest loop that I can. Now what we need to do is make a full circle here, so I'm just bringing both ends around the pliers just like this, so you can kind of see the overlap there. If I take it out we have a full circle. Just put it back in, because then what we need to do is from this circle here start making our first rose, which is going to be one side of the link. Now all you want to do with that is we have the two lengths going out to each their own side, so opposite sides, and this one on this side here is kind of up, the top one, and the other one's the bottom one, so we need to twist them around each other, towards each other you could say, rather than away from each other, so they kind of interlock, and that's also then gonna keep that circle nicely in place. You can see something a bit like that. Now what we need to do, this is basically the middle of the rose, we need to start shaping it. So instead of keeping these two wires opposite each other, I'm going to bring one further around, doesn't matter which one, towards the other one, kind of behind the other one there, as if it's chasing the other one, and then I'm going to bring it underneath the other one and have it come out and up in front of it then. So it kind of caught up to it and then overtook it. And then what I like to do is just push it up a little bit at an angle. Then I'm going to go back to now the current back one that's behind the other one. That's going to now chase the other one. Bring that around. If you need to adjust anything as you go, and then come underneath it to go and then in front, and again push that up a little bit, because pushing that up once you brought it as a new front one just makes it easier to bring the other one underneath. And basically this is how we're going to be creating the rose. Now whenever I bring one in front, I like to then have it where it's coming from underneath the other one, have it basically lay next to what's already been created. Now the current back one chases the other one, goes underneath it, and it's the new front one. And as you can see, they're just going to keep chasing each other like this, overtaking each other, or undertaking you could say. And then you'll be able to see we're basically creating a spiral here, where we're twisting the wire more or less as we do that. And it's going to gradually grow more and more. And create that rose effect, because the twists that we're doing along the way by bringing them under each other is going to create that effect of the rose petals. So just keep going like this until you reach the size. So approximately that 1 centimeter in diameter, just approximately. Doesn't have to be precise. So you also want it to have a nice look to it. Nice proportions. And then what I like to do at some point here, now I have a bit more of the rose made, I take it off my pliers and then I just hold on to it with my hands, because it can be a little bit easier to control then. So literally just make this rose by twisting these wires as you're making that spiral, however is most comfortable for you. So obviously we're making sure that that spiral that we're making is nice and flat, so we're just going around and around and not having, for instance, any point it come underneath or on top, but we want it flat and next to each other the whole way, which then makes it grow in size. So now I'm just going to get it to the point where I'm happy with the size and how it looks, and then show you the next step. So I've reached that point now, and what you can always do if you're making multiples of these is basically take one you've already made and just compare the size, just get it roughly even. Now obviously it's never going to be exactly the same, and it's not supposed to be, it's quite organic, but just so you get them somewhat similar sizes. And once you're at that point, now what I'm going to do is flip it to the back, which is where we have that loop, and we're now going to use that loop. So as you can see, these two wire ends have finished towards the outside. So what I want to do is, one of them first of all, we have the loop facing that way, it's finished basically right on one of the sides of the loop. I'm going to take that and bring it straight through the loop and pull it through there. And then the other one I'm going to bring also through the loop but in the opposite direction. So just come through from the other side and just pull it through gently. All the way. So now the ends are starting to lay in behind the rose, you could say. Now you can always use your chain nose pliers to help flatten anything that you need to, or position anything in place. When it's a bit small what you're working with, that can often be more helpful than using your fingers, because you can see you can get them right in there, unlike where my fingers can go. So flatten that out as much as you can. And then what we have are the two wire ends going out in opposite directions through that loop that we made initially. Now we can just flip it around, make sure we're still happy with it, because anything that needs to be adjusted needs to be done now while we still can. Just want to bring that out just a little bit. Now what we're going to do is, like I said, this is one side of the link. So now we're going to use these wires going in opposite directions to actually make the loop, so we can use to then attach the link to other things or other links as well. So that is just normal wrapped loops that we're going to be doing. On one end here, what I like to do is basically do my wrapped loops opposite each other. So on this end, I'm going to place my chain nose pliers on that wire going out right where my wire can't go any further down basically, and then put the bend in there. This is just to hide the wraps that we're going to be doing as much as possible. And then take my bail making pliers, or the round nose pliers, whatever you're using. Again, I'm using the small one just because I want the loops to be as small as possible, but obviously not too small either. And then make your wrap loop by doing a full circle around your pliers. Something like that. So you can see, because I made that bend that far down, it's only the loop that's really sticking out from the rose. Then I'm going to grab onto that loop with my pliers and then just use that wire to twist below the loop around itself basically, just a couple of times. And that's just a basic wrap loop. And then it's going to leave it going out towards the top here in this direction. Straighten that out a little bit. Now we can flip it around and do the other side. Now don't worry too much if it's not 100% perfect yet. We can still adjust things. Here I like to face it the other way, so I'm going to place my pliers in the same place but on this wire, but flat way, and now bend it backwards, you can see. But otherwise make a wrap loop in the same way. Make your circle first of all, and we have that. We can then use the tail to wrap underneath the loop. Again, just a couple of times. You don't need to fill it all the way down to where you don't have any more space, because now, as you can see, we can also still move these loops around, because if they're a bit too far out to the side, for instance, like that or something, now you can adjust them just to get them somewhat opposite each other as much as possible. And then this wire is now facing opposite the other one. So I want to bring them in towards the middle, both of them, to get closer together. So I'm going to start bending it in towards the middle like this. Same with the other one. And also while we're here, just want to mention, if you want to make a charm instead of a link, so you only want, for instance, one of these loops and nothing on the other end, so you just want one loop on the charm and obviously not the other loop to attach to something, you can just leave one of those loops out. You don't have to make both of them. You just want to make one loop then. Otherwise everything else is the same. So now these two wires, get them to the point where they're going to start to cross or interlock, you can call it, in the middle. Same principle as when we had the wire on the pliers there, and then we started to twist them around each other. That's what we want to do now, but in roughly the middle of the rows that we already made on the other side. So just make sure you get it in that place. I like to kind of get it where I want it to be, put my finger on it, and then move the wire, because you can still move the wire, but it then kind of holds everything else in place better. Something a bit like that. You can see we're then starting to basically make the center of the rows that we're going to do on the other side here. So just keep going, and when you're happy with the middle of it here, then we can start to basically build the rows on this side. So that means same principle. You have the center, you want to choose one of them to catch up to the other one, then bring it underneath and be the new front one. Push it up a bit, and then you take that one, catch up to the other one, go underneath, push up, and then it's the same principle as the other side. So you're now building our rows on this side from the midpoint. And then obviously you already have the other side to gauge what you need size-wise. So now you basically just want to keep doing this. Again, making that spiral, twisting the wire as you go, until you reach and it fits the size that we already have on the other side. So now that side is the same size as the other one. Then all we have left obviously are the two tails here that we need to then get rid of securely. So what I like to do is, right now I've finished just kind of before one of my loops. So what I like to do is take, they kind of naturally have a bit of separation there. I take one of them, one of the lengths, bring it down between the rows that I just made, and then that loop, and then the other one, if I can, bring it down the same way but on the other side. So basically on either side of the loop, but in behind the rows, as you could say, to hide them out of the way. And then before we just completely finish off, make sure you double check everything that you're happy with it. Then bring the wires around the side, and then just to make sure it's nice and secure, I bring it also down between the next loop and the rows, just so we're basically wrapping these wires around the core, you could say. And then they're coming out on this side. All I'm going to do now then is cut off the excess kind of down into the piece, so in between the roses, obviously making sure I'm not cutting off any wires that I don't want to. So like that. And then just to make sure nothing is sticking out and it's going to catch on anything, I take my chain nose pliers and I go in and push those ends in towards the center, as far in as they'll go, just until you can have a little look that you can't see them anymore. And then that is the link done. So all that's left is any little adjustments that you might need to do. You can then, if you've opened the two roses up a little bit too much, push them together and push the sides kind of down on each other, just to kind of close up any gaps that might be there, because it is technically two flat roses that we obviously put on top of each other but connected in the middle. So when you're happy with that, you have your finished link, and it looks like that, and you can then attach it to whatever you want to. And obviously, like I said, you can just make one with one loop and you have a cute little charm as well, just with that one loop to attach to something. So I really hope you enjoyed the tutorial for this double-sided wirework rose link or charm. And it's obviously perfect for any kind of jewellery that's got a lot of movement, as it doesn't have a front and a back. Make sure you check out my channel for loads of other jewellery tutorials. Thank you so much for watching this one though, and I'll see you in the next one.